Hello, welcome back to my channel Christian Faith and Fiction. My name's Lou and today I am doing another new releases video. Where has that time gone? I don't know where the last 2 months have gone. Normally with these videos I pick out the books that I particularly want to read, but I thought this time I'd try something different and go for a whole range of books that you might be interested in. I think I might have bitten off more than I can chew because I just did a count through and I think there are about 34 books to talk about today. So this could be a very long video. It's another one where I could be filming it in parts depending on how my body and my voice last out for that time. I've tried to just give a summary sentence for each one. I've also grouped them into genres, so if you are someone who just reads romance or just reads mysteries, then you feel free to skip ahead and just look at those particular books. Going to look at contemporary romance, contemporary books, I'm not sure if there is a romance, historical fiction, biblical fiction, fantasy and sci-fi, and finally mystery and suspense, and then one children's book I think at the end. If, like me, you are a multi-genre reader, then I would advise you to go and get a cup of tea and maybe a notebook and pen to jot down some of these books that seem interesting to you, and let's get on with it. Romance. The Christmas Swap by Melody Carlson is a Christmas-themed romance releasing on the 1st of September. This story follows Emma, who does a vacation swap to stay in the Colorado Rockies, where she meets Tyler, who is a songwriter and musician who has put his career on hold. Here for You by Pat Simmons is the second book in her Family Forever series, and it releases on the 1st of September. The first book, Lean on Me, came out earlier this year. This is a story about the family challenges of dealing with Alzheimer's and the romance that can blossom in the midst of it. Until I Met You by Tari Farris releases on the 8th of September. It follows Libby, who takes on an old library which needs updating, but she comes against Austin, who just wants to get the town project finished. The Key to Love by Betsy St. Armand releases on the 13th of September. This follows Brie, who has created her own version of the Paris overlock wall at her bakery in Kansas. When it goes viral, love-scorned Gerard comes to write a feature on it. Autumn Skies by Denise Hunter is the third book in the Bluebell Inn series. It releases on the 20th of October. It follows Grace, who is struggling to run the Bluebell Inn and get the outfitters off the ground, and Wyatt, a Secret Service agent recovering from a gunshot wound. Something Borrowed, the Christmas Weddings collection by Tony Shiloh, JC Weaver, Mikhail Dorn, Andrea Boyd and Teresa Tysinger. This is a collection of shorter stories about Christmas weddings. I've read a book by Tony Shiloh before, but none of the others. This releases in Kindle on the 20th of October. Contemporary. The Edge of Belonging by Amanda Cox releases on September the 8th. It is a dual time period novel following Ivy, who had to oversee her late grandmother's estate sale and finds clues to her own adoption, and 24 years earlier, Harvey, who is homeless, finds an abandoned newborn baby. The Sowing Season by Katie Powner releases on October the 13th. It follows 63-year-old Garrett, who is forced to sell his family farm. He crosses paths with 15-year-old Ray, who is feeling the pressure of living up the plan for her to become a lawyer like her father. Truly Madly Deeply by Karen Kingsbury releases on October the 27th. This is actually number 31 in the Baxter's series. This follows Tommy, who wants to be a police officer, even though his grandfather was killed on September the 11th. Alongside this, his girlfriend gets a terrible diagnosis. Historical fiction. An Ivy Hill Christmas by Julie Klassen is a Christmas-themed novella that releases on the 1st of September. I would really like to read this one, but I have a feeling that I would need to read the other books beforehand. This one follows Richard, who prefers to remain in London than go to the country. His mother forces him to come home for Christmas, where he meets his first love and Arabella, who is far more appealing than he remembers. Mountain Laurel by Laurie Benton is set in North Carolina 1793 and it releases on the 1st of September. This follows Ian, a cabinet maker and frontier trapper who has come to Mountain Laurel to set himself up as his uncle's heir to a slave plantation. There he meets Siona, who is beautiful, artistic and a slave. A Portrait of Loyalty by Rosanna M. White is the third book in the Codebreakers series, of which I read the first 2 books already, and this releases on the 8th of September. This follows Zivon, a Russian cryptographer who has fled to England, and Lily, a photographer recruited into the intelligence division. The description says, he sees patterns in what she deems chaos. She sees beauty in a world he thought destroyed. Their friendship blooms, but his enemies are still chasing him. Under the Tulip Tree by Michelle Shockley is set in 1929 and it releases on September the 8th. It follows 16-year-old Lorena, a newspaper reporter during the Great Depression who is tasked with interviewing former slaves. She meets Frankie, a 101-year-old with a past that challenges Rena's preconceptions. The Librarian of Boone's Hollow by Kim Vogel Sawyer releases on the 15th of September. It follows Addie, a travelling librarian, when someone tries to destroy the library and the novel she is working on. She has to team up with Emmett, the first in the mining community to receive a college degree. Beholden by Jodie Headland is book 1 in the Fairest Maidens series and it releases on the 22nd of September. I'm not sure whether to class this one as medieval historical or a kind of fantasy without magic. This follows Lady Gabriella, who is forced to work in Warwick's gem mine whilst plotting to avenge her father's death and stop Queen Marjorie's cruelty. There she meets Prince Vilmar, who has enslaved himself to the mine to prove himself worthy of becoming the king of Scania's successor. This is also described on Goodreads as the real Cinderella story. Beguiled, also by Jodie Headland, is the second book in the series and that releases on October the 20th. This is supposed to be the real Snow White story. Forever by Your Side by Tracy Peterson is the third book in her Willamette Brides series and it releases on the 6th of October. It follows Constance and Thomas, who return to Oregon to catalogue the native peoples, but also to prove that her missionary parents are not involved in a secret conspiracy to goad the oppressed tribes into war. Her Secret Song by Mary Connelly is the third book in her Brides of Hope Mountain series and it releases on the 6th of October. This follows Ursula, who has spent the winter alone on Hope Mountain. As she treks back down, she finds badly wounded Wax Mosby, who is climbing the mountain to atone for his terrible choices. The Light at Wincliffe by Sarah E. Ladd is a Regency romance set in Cornwall and this releases on the 13th of October. This follows Liam, who inherits an estate in Cornwall and discovers a mysterious shipwreck on his property. There he meets Evelyn, whose family has lost its fortune. On October the 13th, this stunning special edition hardcover of Francine Rivers' Redeeming Love is being released. This is a historical fiction retelling of the Bible book of Hosea set in 1850s California gold country. Alongside that, there are 2 other books releasing, A Path to Redeeming Love, 40-day devotional by Francine Rivers with Karen Stock Bersma. This is a devotional based on the book Redeeming Love. It follows key themes: rejected, resigned, rescued, redeemed, reconciled and restored. And as well as that, there's a companion study by Francine Rivers and Angela Hunt. also releasing on October the 13th, and this is a 6-week study exploring the relationship between Angel and Michael as a metaphor for our relationship with God. I just had to stop and start again because I have totally dead legs, pins and needles in my feet. A Haven for Her Heart by Susan Ann Mason releases on the 13th of October. It follows Olivia, who has been released from a women's reformatory in 1939, where her newborn son was taken from her. She meets Darius, a widower who trying to protect his daughter from prejudice by marrying into a respected Toronto family. The Love Note by Joanna Davidson Politano releases on October the 20th. It follows Willa, who is focused on a career in medicine until she finds a love letter in the crack of her old writing desk. She takes a job at Creswick Manor to find out more about the writer, but discovers that he has disappeared. The Conqueror by Brian Litvin is set in AD 312 in Rome, and it releases on the 13th of October. It follows Brandolf, a pagan Germanic barbarian who joins the Roman army as a spy, and Junia, the daughter of a nominally Christian senator. They join forces to bring down the evil emperor Maxentius and protect Christianity in the empire. And in biblical fiction, The Shepherd's Wife by Angela Hunt is her second Jerusalem Road book, and it releases on October the 6th. This book follows Theodora, the fictional sister of Jesus, who is married to a shepherd. When her husband is thrown into a debtor's prison, she returns to Nazareth, where she must raise 2 spotless goats to sell for the Yom Kippur sacrifice and release her husband. Fantasy and sci-fi. Monster in the Hollows by Andrew Peterson is the 3rd book in an older series called The Wingfeather Saga. This is getting a new illustrated hardcover edition, and that comes out on the 15th of September. It continues to follow Jana, Tink and Lily Igby and their adventures against the fangs of Dang. I have the first 2 books and I've enjoyed the first one so far. Also, The Warden and the Wolf by Andrew Peterson is also getting a new cover, and that's releasing on the 15th of September as well. Forsaken Island by Sharon Hink is the 2nd book in her Dancing Realms series, and this releases on September the 15th. The first book in this series followed Kalara, who spent her life learning the dance patterns so she could join the order that directs the floating world of Meriel. But when she discovered that the order was built on a lie, she fled. Mystery and suspense. The Haunting at Bonaventure Circus by Jamie Jo Wright is set in 2 time periods. It's set in 1928 and the present day, and it includes a mystery as well as elements of the paranormal. It releases on the 1st of September. This follows Pippa, who wants to uncover her roots in the circus she was rejected from and discover the serial killer haunting the train. In the present, Chandler is looking into a train depot's history and the unsolved murders of the past. 2 Reasons to Run by Colleen Coble is the 2nd book in the Pelican Harbour series, and this releases on the 8th of September. It continues to follow Police Chief Jane Hardy and Reed, a documentary maker who have to investigate a murder aboard an oil platform. And having tried this one out, I would say you definitely need to read book 1 before you attempt to read this book 2. Everywhere to Hide by Siri Mitchell comes out, I think, on the 6th of October. This follows law school graduate Whitney, who witnesses a murder and gets caught up in a net of terror and international intrigue. Backlash by Rachel Dillon is the 2nd book in her Capital Intrigue series, and it also releases on the 6th of October. This follows CIA analyst Layla, who is facing a dangerous cartel as well as an internal investigation against her. And finally, in children's books, Ashton's Dancing Dreams is the second book in the Faith Girls series and releases on October the 6th. This follows Ashton, who loves dancing and enters her school's spring talent show to try to persuade her parents not to move them all to London. I think this is by Caitlin Cameron and Olivia Pitts. So well done if you stayed with me on that one. Let me know in the comments if any of those books sound interesting to you. I'll put a link in the description box to my blog post where you can get links to their Goodreads pages if you want to find out more about them. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't done already. I know I don't always remind people of that. Please do like and share this video, and until next time, I'll see you again. Bye.